All right, Shabbat Shalom again. Now we're going through hurtful, righteous words and deeds again in the book of Matthew, and we're in Matthew chapter 8, verse 5 to 13. All right, and it reads, Now when Yahusha had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him, pleading with him, saying, Lord, my servant is lying at home paralyzed, dreadfully tormented. And Yahusha said to him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that you should come under my roof, but only speak a word, and my servant will be healed. For I also am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this one, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes, and to my servant, do this, and he does it. When Yahusha heard it, he marveled and said to those who followed, Assuredly I say to you, I have not found such great faith, not even in Israel. And I say to you that many will come from east and west and sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the sons of the kingdom will be cast out into outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then Yahusha said to the centurion, Go your way, and as you have believed, so let it be done for you. And his servant was healed that same hour. Any thoughts on this? Hurtful, righteous words. Let's stay on topic. It's definitely in here. There's something in here. I'll start. Here's where it goes. In verse 10, when Yahusha heard it, he marveled and said to those who followed. He didn't speak this to the Pharisees and the scribes and the Sadducees. He's speaking to the ones that are loving what he's teaching and loving what he's doing, and they're deciding to follow this man. So that would be in line with the multitude. These are believers. These are people who believe in Yahusha. And what was his response? Assuredly I say to you, I have not found such great faith, not even in Israel. Was that a positive statement or a negative statement? Was that affirmation or was that condemnation? Negative. Was it righteous or was it wicked? Righteous. So that's the one I wanted to highlight here from this passage. Ezzy, what you got?
I mean, the people in Israel, the Israel that he's referring to are the people that are coming out of the wilderness, and they saw wonders, and they had manna coming down from heaven, got the quails coming up. I mean, they got to see all of this stuff, and yet they were still murmuring and complaining and grumbling and saying we should die or we should just go back to Egypt. So, to see all of that and still have the golden calf situation, still, backsliding or rebelling. These people don't have manna raining down from heaven or meat coming down from heaven. They don't have, they're seeing things being done, but not as, I don't want to say not as great, but there's just a difference in the miracles that are happening. Whereas, I mean, because even in those times you have the Pharisees and the Sadducees that are healing, people are getting healing. So it's not uncommon, but seeing food coming down from heaven, you don't see that every day, and they still lacked their faith or their belief. So I think that is, he's saying a lot in that. So that's just the comparison that I see. You're muted. Can't hear you.
My bad. Very good, Ezzy. Very well said. So that was a very blanket statement for Yahusha to say, not even in Israel have I found such great faith. So that was including everybody that he's talking to included. All right. So anybody who says that a good leader affirms first before they rebuke, that's not true. There was no affirmation given here before he gave that rebuke. So it's a hey, look at this person's faith. Where's yours at? Now go. I'm gonna let your what is that? His son? A servant. My servant is lying. So I just read chapter 8, verse 5 to 13. Let's go to the next one. Oh no, there's more. There's more negative stuff here. More hurtful things going on here. He says, and I say to you, verse 11, that many will come from east and west to sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. So he's talking about the new heaven, new earth. He's talking about paradise. But the sons of the kingdom will be cast out into outer darkness. What is that all about, Yahusha? That does not sound like what you've been teaching over here. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the kingdom, and I thought we're the good guys. We're following you, So there are those who are in Yahuwah's. You understand that Israel is a kingdom, right? Israel is an earthly kingdom that Yahuwah established, not that man established. Jacob didn't establish it, okay? Abraham didn't establish it. It was Yahuwah that ordained it. So it is a kingdom. Not everybody in that kingdom is going to be saved. Okay, so that's what he's talking about. The sons of the kingdom of Israel. There is no other kingdom than the kingdom of Israel. Even when Yahusha's preaching, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The kingdom of God is near. It's Israel. The kingdom has always been Israel. It developed into that. Okay, it wasn't always, because Israel didn't come until later, but it developed into that. So there was no kingdom yet until Jacob and the 12 sons. That's when it became a kingdom. Other than that, Abraham was, he had his land, he had his money, he had his property. He passed it on to Isaac and all the blessings, the covenant that Yahusha will establish a people, right? Through you, and he passed on that blessing to his firstborn, or the one who had the firstborn blessing, and then to Jacob, and then they go into Egypt. And then after they go out of Egypt, they go through the wilderness. And after the wilderness, they go into the land that they were promised to possess, and they became a kingdom. That was what was being promised for hundreds of years. And once it came into play, you don't go backwards now. You don't go backwards and say, now we're going to do away with this kingdom. No, it was a pivotal point in history. It all developed to that. So when Yahusha here is talking about the sons of the kingdom, he's talking about those who are Gentiles and Israelites that are under the covenant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Moses, of following Yahuwah and the Torah. Okay? It's not just physical DNA Israelites. This is anybody that comes in covenant and becomes a citizen of the kingdom of Israel. Milo.
Can I challenge on that?
Go ahead.
Okay. The reason I think the context is talking about the physical bloodline is because because we're just talking about a Gentile, right? That was, hold on.
It'll be an assumption. He's a centurion.
A centurion, usually at the time ban or something like that, a Gentile. And I think what he's noting is there's going to be
thinking about it.
There's going to be many, sure. Yeah, there's going to be many Gentiles that come to sit down with Abraham and get into the kingdom. But the children, the one who the promises were for, the actual bloodline, will be casted out, because I'm thinking the scripture says not all that are Israel are Israel. That not all that are Jew are actually Jew. And Yahusha said to the centurion, go and because you believe, so it's done. So he's piercing his chosen people, Yisrael, saying just because you're the bloodline does not mean you're going to get into the kingdom. So this one, I would say, when he's talking about the children of the kingdom, it's not those that are actually in covenant with him. He's saying, just because you say that you have Abraham as your father does not mean you're getting into the kingdom. You lack faith, which is what you need. You can have all the works, you can have the Torah, but this centurion coming here and has the faith in me, yeah, he's better off than what you are. So I would just challenge. in that sense.
I don't think it's really that necessary, because even Gentiles that come in, there's some who are sincere and there's some who are not. There's some Gentiles that want to claim they want to embrace the covenant, right? Torah and everything like that, but they're not sincere. So just like there is hypocrite DNA Israelites, there's also hypocrite Gentiles who are grafted in. So I think this applies to anyone that tries to come into this kingdom. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be Gentiles and there's going to be DNA Israelites who are going to be cast out into outer darkness because of their hypocrisy and their lack of faith and commitment. Mm-hmm. And yep, it says, but the sons of the kingdom will be cast out into outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That does not sound very pleasant. That does not sound very encouraging. That sounds very condemning, very judgmental. And, you know, but Yahusha was very justified in that. All right. Let's move on to the next one. That was 8, 5 to 13. Let's go to 8, 23 to 27. It says, now, when he got into a boat, his disciples followed him. And suddenly a great tempest arose on the sea, a storm, so that the boat was covered with the waves. But he was asleep. Then his disciples, so it's not the multitudes, these are his inner circle. Then his disciples came to him and awoke him, saying, Lord, save us. We are perishing. But he said to them, I love you so much, my sons. You're so beautiful. I love your commitment that you've had with me this whole time. You're so committed. I appreciate you. You guys are doing a great job. However, I got to say, no, he didn't say all that. His response was, why are you fearful? Why are you fearful? Oh, you of little faith. There was no affirmation here. There was no puffing him up. There was no anesthesia to the scalpel that he was about to pull out and rebuke them. And I'm sorry, I might have been on the same boat. I might have been worried too. Like, why is this dude sleeping? Yo, Yahusha, you did all these miracles. Stop this storm. And that might have been me too. And I would have to accept the rebuke. His disciples accepted it, except for Judas probably. He probably was the only one there mad. Like, he ain't got no right to talk to me that way. But then he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. So the men marveled, saying, who can this be, that even the winds and the sea obey him? Hallelujah. So just a little lesson here, that from a shepherd, from a teacher standpoint, your followers have to trust you. They got to trust you. And if they're not trusting you, depending on the circumstance, the teacher has a right to rebuke. If you're tripping right now and you don't understand what I'm doing, I have a plan, I have an agenda, there's something I have in store right now. Don't worry about the chaos. Don't worry about the drama. I got this. But if you're going to be like, yo, what are you doing? What's going on? How come you're not doing anything? I might rebuke you, like, you of little faith. How much longer do I need to endure with you, faithless people? Did he just call one of his disciples faithless? That would not be wrong. It wouldn't be wrong for me to call one of my disciples faithless and still have him as my disciple. I'm not kicking him out. I'm just rebuking him. So, oh man. You gotta be like I think sometimes we look over these passages and we get more focused on how he calmed the storm rather than how he rebuked his disciples. Many times we read this story and we focus on the miracle of him calming down the storm, but we miss, he just harshly rebuked his disciples, the ones that he loves. Because they had the natural human reaction of, yo, we're having a storm right now and we're panicking. That's normal. Who goes through a storm sleeping besides Yahusha? Nobody does that. So even in the midst of something looking so normal, it's okay if a leader needs to give a rebuke out because of their lack of faith. Milo and then Ezzy.
And I think when I read things like this, it makes me think of, okay, if someone is offended or you have an offense, does that automatically mean it's because of sin? So let's say Ezzy rebukes me and I'm offended or something like that. Does that mean that Ezzy sinned? No, not necessarily. It could be, I could be offended and that needs to happen because who was talking about the boiling of the water? Was it Ezzy? It was Ezzy. And that resonated with me when you said that earlier about, we're bringing out this water and we feel like our blood's boiling type of thing, or we're calm and things like that. In the sense of, if I'm offended, it's something stirring in me. Now, it could be because you sinned and you were just wrong. It could be, right? Or it could be, no, my sister's trying to chop something off on me and it doesn't feel good. So I need to know that. I need to take that. And what we do with that will show us the fruit of, where it goes. So things like this, where I hear him say, I'm a little faded, like, help me in my faith. Yeah. And it's something natural. Like you said, we're in a storm on a boat in the sea. Like, I don't want to drown. I can't swim. So I would be like one of those. But it's this matter of where is it coming from? And we really have to, I think we always have to examine ourselves.
Why are you so frustrated, Yahusha? Aren't you supposed to be calm? And why you sound so frustrated? Why are you calling us faithless? And why are you mad? You just woke me up. I was sleeping. All right, Ezzy, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. It makes me think of that boiling water. But look at what happened after he rebuked them harshly, if you will. Then in 27, it says the men marveled, saying, what is this that even the winds and the sea obey him? So they're almost like examining, well, wait a minute, should we? I guess we shouldn't have been afraid. That rebuke causes someone to critically think. So either you're going to be offended, or through that water boiling or that change, that uncomfortability, you're going to seek out and examine yourself. Why do I feel that way? Or why did he say that? Or, I think it's a level, it tests your faith. It's a level of faith, because either you're standing on the decision that you made, or you weren't really standing on it and you're just going to crumble and fall. So.
Yep, very good. I like it. Again,
mm-hmm. Yeah, the only other thing I would say is, and I'm not going to say every time the way he says it is harshly or not harshly. He could have said it harshly, or he could have said, like, why are you fearful?
He might have shed a tear.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, he could have been like, why are you fearful? You have little faith. Like, I don't know. Or he could have screamed at them. I don't know. But either way, the words still pierce. Regardless, it can still create an offense. That's what I'm focusing on. So, because I can't read the emotion behind it, right? That would be.
He wasn't flipping the table on the ship, talking about, oh, you faithless.
Yeah. So. But it's still, it can create that offense where you have to, I think it just comes back to, we have to examine ourselves and say, yep. All right, what are you trying to say?
Yep. And the whole point of this teaching is to point out negative words are not always wicked. Negative words can be righteous and justified, righteous judgment. Okay, that's the whole point of this. All right, next one. Chapter 8, verse 28 to 34.
That's fine if you.
All right. When he had come to the other side, to the country of the Gergesenes, there met him 2 demon-possessed men coming out of the tombs, exceedingly fierce, so that no one could pass that way. And suddenly they cried out, saying, what have we to do with you, Yahusha, you son of Elohim? Have you come here to torment us before the time? Now, a good way off from them, there was a herd of many swine feeding. So the demons begged him, saying, if you cast us out, permit us to go away into the herd of swine. And he said to them, go. So when they had come, man, I wish demons could submit that quickly. Jeez. Go. So when they had come out, they went into the herd of swine. And suddenly the whole herd of swine ran violently down the steep place into the sea and perished in the water. In other words, these innocent animals, I don't care if they're clean or unclean, that's irrelevant. These animals committed suicide. Then those who kept them fled, and they went away into the city, told everything, including what had happened to the demon-possessed men. And behold, the whole city came out to meet Yahusha. And when they saw him, they begged him to depart from their region. You just killed my pigs. You killed my pigs! Even though you didn't lay hands on them, you did something. Yahusha killed these pigs, y'all. Any animal humane society would not appreciate this verse, because technically Yahusha, this is why I pulled this verse out. You probably didn't see this before when you read this, but I see this as Yahusha straight up caused these demons to go into these pigs and for them to commit suicide and die. Okay? Pigs are an important part of farms. Okay? They're innocent animals. However, Yahusha was justified in doing this action. He can do that. Okay? For whatever reason. It's not a sin. There's nothing in scripture that says you can't cast demons out into an unclean animal and have them fall off a ditch. All right? There's nothing that says you can't cast out demons into animals. There's nothing that says that. All right? It's a very awkward story. I'm probably putting some light on it that you've probably never seen, and it's probably more awkward, but it is what it is. Here's Yahusha doing something that might seem very unrighteous. And then you wonder why the people want him to leave that area. Get out of my city, you crazy man, whatever you are, sending spirits in my animals and having them falling off a cliff. All right, next one. Matthew chapter 9, verse 1 to 8. So he got into a boat, crossed over, and came to his own city. Oh, back at home. Then behold, they brought to him a paralytic lying on a bed. When Yahusha saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Son, be of good cheer. Your sins are forgiven you." And at once some of the scribes said within themselves, you see what I'm saying? Like, how does a scribe end up in this situation? They're the multitudes. They're the ones creeping in, coming in, listening. I bet you probably out of the 4,000 something subscribers I have on my YouTube channel, we probably got some scribes. We probably got some folk out there just watching me for whatever reason. You know, they only subscribe just so they can keep up with me. I probably got some coworkers in there, somebody that works at my job that likes to just, you never know. But here's these scribes said within themselves, "This man blasphemes." But Yahusha, knowing their thoughts, that's important, discernment, knowing their thoughts, said, "Why do you think evil in your hearts?" Does that sound positive or negative? That's negative. Why do you think evil in your hearts? For which is easier to say, your sins are forgiven, or to say, arise and walk? But what you may know that the Son of Man has power on earth to forgive sins. Then he said to the paralytic, arise, take up your bed and go to your house. And he arose and departed to his house. And verse 8. Now when the multitude saw it, they marveled and glorified Elohim who had given such power to men. All right. Pretty self-explanatory there. Evil in your hearts and having discernment. Okay, it's equated with discernment. People have discernment. It's real. Even before people open their mouth or before people do a certain type of behavior, well, in this case, they open their mouth, right?
It was in his heart.
No, they asked. They said, "This man blasphemes."
He said within himself. Certain scribes said they didn't even say it out loud.
Ooh, good catch. The scribes, verse 3, the scribes said within themselves. Wow. Yahusha discerned that. Wow. Look at that, y'all. Where's the evidence? Where's the trial? Where is the trial to trial and get these people to admit, innocent till proven guilty, right? Not all the time. Go ahead, Ezzy.
Yeah, I was just going to point that out, that it was something that he thought within, and Yahusha, through his discernment, knowing their thoughts, he calls it out. And he has a habit of calling it what it is, not sugarcoating it, or just like the disciples in the boat. Why are you afraid, and why do you have so little faith? Being fearful is lacking faith, because something is hindering you from being calm and being still, if you will. And then here, calling him, saying that he's blaspheming, and he calls it out. Why do you think wickedness in your heart? Because through all the good works that he's done and everything that he has done that has been righteous, why would that be a thought? Like, there's a million other things that you could have thought, but yet you're putting sin on him, saying that he's committing a sin. And he's not sugarcoating it. Like, I don't know what anyone would say in that situation, but he's calling it what it is. He's saying you have wickedness in your heart. Why do you think wickedness in your heart? So he's not really, there's no sugarcoating. There's no.
I got an answer. I got a way to sugarcoat it.
Okay.
Yeah, here's a way to sugarcoat it. Oh, you guys are overzealous, and you just love Yahuwah, and you love the Torah, and you're misunderstood. You're just a little misunderstood. I know what you guys are thinking, but it's not like that. But I give you guys some credit, because I know you love the Torah and you're trying to protect the Torah. You think that's how to sugarcoat it. That's sugarcoating it. You say, oh, their intentions are good. They got the right motives, and they're just, yeah.
No, I was just going to say how interesting it must be where if I heard someone come out, obviously I'm not hearing the other person's thoughts, right?
Right.
And then here he comes and says, why are you thinking evil in your heart? Like, where did he what? Like, what's he talking? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't have the same discernment either.
Oh, yeah. Like, can you imagine how crazy that looks?
That's like, wait,
how
what?
It sounds?
Like,
we're having a good time right now. We're having a very intimate moment. Somebody's asking for healing, right? That was the paralytic. Right? Mm-hmm. And he says, your sins are forgiven you. So we're having this little intimate moment here. And out of nowhere, Yahusha says, what? Why do you think evil in your hearts? Like, what?
Like, think about that. It's just,
who are you talking to? Because he didn't point to he didn't point to the he didn't point to the, it doesn't say, I don't know.
He could,
but can you imagine if he's just like, why are you thinking evil in your hearts? Everybody watching is like, who we talking to? Who is he talking to?
I was just looking at it like,
Or he might have looked at the scribes. He might have looked right at them. Why are you thinking evil in your hearts? Woo! And then it's still awkward, because it's like the disciples might be like, oh, what's going on right now? I know they don't like each other. I know they've been beefing for a while. What's about to go down? Yeah, that's how I see it. I'm sorry. I ain't calling no other way. Yahusha beefing with these guys. He's constantly rebuking these guys. It's not the first time. And they still be showing up. Every time they show up, we can expect something to happen. And this time, they don't even open their mouth yet, and Yahusha's already getting on their case. Wow. That was a good catch, babe. I didn't see that one. Matthew 9:9-13.
I just read.
You want to read?
Mm-hmm, I just want to read.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And as Yahusha passed forth from thence, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the receipt of custom. And he said unto him, follow me. And he arose and followed him. And it came to pass, as Yahusha sat at meat in the house, behold, many publicans and sinners came and sat down with him and his Talmudim. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto his Talmudim, why does your master eat with publicans and sinners? But when Yahusha heard, he said unto them, they that be whole need not a physician, but they that are sick. But go you and learn what it means. I will have mercy and not sacrifice. For I am not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance.
Now, what I want to bring out about this is Yahusha didn't rebuke these Pharisees. His negative words weren't against them. His negative words were to the sinners he was preaching to. Where's the compassion? Where's it? Did he just call the sinners? Did he just call these people he's sitting with sick? Right?
Oh, that's what you. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay,
He calling them sick. He's calling them sinners. That is, again, that is prerequisite of evangelism. You have to call things out for what it is. Like my wife just had a conversation today. You got to call things out. It's got to call a spade a spade. You're not walking right with Yahuwah. You are a sinner. You are sick. You need a doctor. You need a surgery. You need a heart surgery. You need healing. You need deliverance. You need to be made right with Yahuwah. You're wrong with Yahuwah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was a social worker for many years where they prided themselves on positive affirmation, where even your discipline has to be done in a positive way. So instead of saying, don't do that, you have to say, do the right thing. You're not allowed to say, don't do. I was literally in a bunch of conferences and meetings where they teach you they will call it the old way of discipline is negative discipline versus positive discipline. Literally, I had to sit in these teachers. I'm like, and this is how far we've come. Where I can't even tell. Now the 10 Commandments looks wicked to these people. Makes sense. Bunch of LGBT-driven social work industry we live in nowadays. So all the don't do this, do not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. This is all old-fashioned, old way of giving instruction and teaching. They would rather it be, thou shalt tell the truth, instead of thou shalt not lie. Or the other thing would be, thou shalt be committed to thy spouse, to thy wife, instead of do not commit adultery. Thou shalt enjoy when others have other things, versus thou shalt not covet. You know, thou shalt let someone live. Let everyone live. Love everyone. Like there's both. You know. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent, but when you're preaching the gospel, there's a lot of negative words that has to be preached in that moment. When you're delivering the gospel, there needs to be negative words. Let me just say it straight up. If you're not saying any negative words, you are not preaching the gospel. Period.
Why you look at me?
You got your hand up, right?
No.
Oh, Ezzy, go ahead.
Your interaction is so cute. You two are so cute. But it's just like, you know, if you think of a doctor, right? When someone is going to be diagnosed, they don't say, oh, you know, they don't talk about everything else that's positive in your body.
All the positive.
No, they're not going to say, oh, yeah, your blood.
Let me show you how good our cancer program is.
Right.
So, we have all these.
No, they're going to address the diagnosis. They're going to diagnose you. And you first have to know someone is sick, and then you have to call out the sickness. But also when he says in 13, I desire compassion and not offering, for I did not come to call the righteous to repentance, but sinners. The way that the Father is, like when he talks about, I don't know, doing something positive or doing a good work, there is always a follow-up of, if you don't, then these curses and plagues or whatever will come on you. So there is, I guess, a balance, but when you're dealing with sinners or sin, he is very straightforward, and there's no, I don't know, I really can't explain. There's just no sugarcoating. Just like with a doctor, when you go to the doctor, he's not talking about all the positive stuff. He's going to diagnose you and then give you what your treatment is. And Yahusha is the same way. He's diagnosing us, saying that we're sinners, and he's giving us the treatment, which is submitting to Torah. And I think a lot of the churches and in Christianity, there is this, everyone's forgiven, we're all under grace. You know, you're not really feeling guilty until you get to the altar call, because I come from non-denominational, and then they bring in the music and then they talk about the negative stuff, but your whole sermon has been we're all under grace, that's the old law, don't feel shameful, you know, he loves us all. But then this altar
tricked me. He tricked me. He tricked me.
But then the altar call is, you know, all of this negative stuff. And so you're left feeling confused. What is acceptable? What is not? Should I be feeling repentant? Or should I just do it at the end of service and then hit the club up this weekend? It's just, you got to be straightforward.
Or do I just ignore everything he's saying and just, I only came because of what he was saying, because a lot of stuff made me feel good. So whatever he's saying right now, I'm not paying attention to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good point. Mm-hmm. He didn't say, I've come to call all the broken only, the hurting, right? Because that's the gospel that I've heard a lot is, oh, you're broken and you have a vacuum thing in your heart and that only God can fill and only he can fill that hurtful part of you. So what about the people who are very happy in their sin right now? They got a lot of money. They got a very good job. They party. They're having a great time. They got no hurt. They're not hurting. They're very happy fornicating and doing all kinds of stuff. The gospel has to be universal. It has to be able to apply to everybody, whether you're poor, rich, depressed, whatever. We are sinners. The word sinner means a transgressor. What did we transgress? Whether I'm depressed or not, I need to know that I transgressed something at some point in my life. And that might have something to do with my state. My transgressing might have to do with my depression. My transgressing might have something to do with my anxiety. My pride, whatever it might be, my pride, my ego. So when we're preaching the gospel, we have to be negative. That sounds weird. I'm going to repeat it one more time. When we're preaching the gospel, we have to be negative. Mix some positive in there, but like, as he said, a doctor is going to break down the negative first. The guy's like, nah, I'm perfectly healthy. I feel good. I didn't even want to come to the doctors today, but my wife kept telling me to get blood work done, so I'm here. And the doctor's like, I got something to tell you. No, you don't. Don't tell me nothing. I'm perfectly healthy. Do you want the bad news or you want the good news? I don't want it. Right? No. Doctor's going to give you the bad news, and then he's going to give you the good news. Here's what we can do about the situation. But first, you have to see that this is a problem. And if you don't do something about this, I don't know how much time you're going to have. Your lungs, all this smoking that you're doing, your lungs, this is how your lungs look now. You need to really stop smoking. Do you want to see your grandkids? Do you want to, right? And people have a choice. Like, that can motivate them, or they could just choose, no, I want to keep doing it. All right. Did you have something?
Yeah, I also wonder, though, if he's using sarcasm here, because from all the interactions I think about him with Yahushua with the Pharisees, calls them sons of Satan and all this stuff. And when he says, what did he say here? He says, they that are whole need not a physician, as though that's supposed to be them. Like, you're supposed to be whole, so you don't need a physician, right? So, but I'm coming from those who are sick. So I'm just wondering if he's also using sarcasm and saying you're really sinners actually, but you think you're whole. So you don't need this. You don't need the good news. Go on, type of thing. So I'm just wondering if he's using
possible.
When I'm looking at sarcasm, but I can't, just trying to figure.
I don't think it's far fetched. Mm-hmm. I think that's pretty possible. He's done rebuked them a whole bunch of times already. He's probably getting fed up with rebuking them. So now let me just start being sarcastic with you. Because you're obviously not getting the message. Nah, brother, this is just for the sinners. It's not for you. It's not for the righteous. Have a good day. Interesting.
I would love to be there just to
Me too. Me too, seriously. Man. All right. Matthew 10, 5 to 15. I'll read. These 12 Yahusha sent out and commanded them, saying, do not go into the way of the Gentiles. Negative. Do not enter into the city of the Samaritans. Negative. Don't do and don't do. But go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out demons. Freely you have received, freely give. Provide neither gold, nor silver, nor copper, in your money belts, nor bag for your journey, nor 2 tunics, nor sandals, nor staffs, for a worker is worthy of his food. Now, whatever city or town you enter, inquire who in it is worthy, and stay there till you go out. And when you go into a household, greet it. And if the household is worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it is not worthy, let your peace return to you. And whoever will not receive you nor hear your words, when you depart from that house or city, shake off the dust from your feet. Assuredly, I say to you, it will be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. Go ahead, Ezzy.
So I don't know if it's hurtful, but it's definitely, I would see it as a rebuke. Because, I mean, how I read that passage is all that stuff you find value in, yeah, leave all that behind and go and do what I'm asking you to do. And that, I mean, that's hard. That's hard. I mean, I pray to be like Brother Jeff and Sister Zakai with what they are doing, and they do it so humbly. But to say, you know, I know that we're building up our treasures in heaven, but we are still human, and we still have to overcome that flesh. And he is, I mean, he's very, very stern in what he is saying. Leave all that stuff behind, and then go to this house and spend your time there and give pieces of you. But if they don't want to receive it, walk away. Like, that's hard. That's hard. Because even in relationships that we build now, you know, sometimes you kind of hold on to stuff that Yah is pulling away because you're looking at the potential or whatever. But he's saying, no, leave all that stuff behind. You know, whatever you're supposed to take there, let it be there, and then leave and go on to the next place. Like that, it's very convicting what he's saying. And if he was saying that to me, I mean, reading this, you know, if I was in that moment, I don't know what my reaction would be. But anytime I read this, it just makes me feel convicted. That, I mean, it just makes me feel convicted on so many levels. So
absolutely. Oh, very good. Yeah, so the main thing I was focusing was on the ending, but you know, he does tell them where not to go, but that's not really that relevant to the subject. I think the last part is where he tells them, let your peace return to you. Aren't we supposed to love our enemies and bless those who curse us? And because didn't we hear about this from Yahusha's mouth? So is Yahusha now double talking? Is he being hypocritical? Because he told me love all my enemies, bless all those who curse me. So what do you mean let my peace return to me? That's not blessing them, is it? That's taking my blessing back. Hold on. So we need some balance here. Okay? Some balance here. He's preaching, he's sending these men out to preach the good news of the kingdom, to preach the gospel, right? And if these people are not receiving this message, let your peace return to you. Let your shalom return to you. Okay? In other words, that shalom that you gave them, let it come back to you. All right? And wipe the dust from off your feet. Where's the endurance? Where's the endurance talk? Where's the perseverance talk, Yahusha? He didn't say, persevere with them 70 times, 7 times, and make sure you prolong. Give it off to your brother. That's why I'm sending you out by 2s. So if you are carrying the burden and you can't carry it anymore, give it to your brother to carry the burden. And then both, maybe.
I can't. I can't.
But the point is, I think the point is here, and it's all about it's all about context, it's all about situation. We don't know if Yahusha was like, yo, you have a limited amount of time. I'm giving you this amount of time to be there, get in, do the work, return back to me, report back to me. I don't know. We don't know the details of this, but what it sounds like here, he's being very clear with them. Like, they either receive what you're saying or they don't. There's plenty of people out there who will. Keep it moving. Go find somebody who is going to receive this message. Why do you think his movement grew so fast? I think this is probably one of them. I think they understood where to invest their time and throw their pearls. All right, Jeff, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, the balance I think that we're seeking, what I'm thinking is that he seems to be rebuking and a little more harsh on people who say they're believers or who claim to be brothers or who are part of the family already. You know, like the Pharisees, they're already preaching Torah. He's harder on them for it. But people who don't know, he seems to love. The lost sheep, he's got compassion on because they don't know better. But the people that should know better seem to be the people he has the hardest time with, and in that situation, those are who he's rebuking because they should know better.
Yeah. Specifically, he said, "Go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." He said, "Don't go to the Gentiles and don't go to the Samaritans." So we're expecting that they were going to people who understood Torah. For sure, and I do believe that. I think there is a distinction. I think there's different levels, even with sinners, though, too. You got the mockers and the scoffers out there. You got sinners who are ignorant, but then you have mockers and scoffers. And in my opinion, I think there's scripture to support, to rebuke a mocker and a scoffer, rebuking foolish men, and sometimes harshly. But with sinners who are ignorant, asking questions, hard to dialogue with because they're ignorant. That's something we got to be patient with and address them differently than those who claim to believe.
Yeah, but even then, it depends on what is it that they're bringing in. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on what's being fostered in the camp. Is it sin? Is it heresy? Is it things like, because even babies can mess up something in a camp. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got to my aunt says, cut the crap jack type of thing. Like you just got to nip it in the bud sometimes. So sometimes it is harsh. So you need to put that fear so that it does stop. And then there's times where you need to be gentle and you have, like you said, perseverance and long suffering. So it is situational. I thought you brought it. I was laughing because your antics, but you bring out a good point in regards to these different scriptures. So.
Praise you. Yeah, we could find more of that in Acts and the epistles. We'll see how new believers bringing in heresies, new believers trying to teach Torah, trying to be teachers of the law. We'll get into that later. Good point. Let's go to Matthew chapter 10, verse 16 to 26. All right, it's a long one. Behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. But, in other words, however. So even though he said, therefore, be wise as serpents, harmless as doves, he says, however, beware of men, for they will deliver you up to councils and scourge you in their synagogues. You will be brought before governors and kings for my name's sake, or for my sake, as a testimony to them and to the Gentiles. But when they deliver you up, do not worry about how or what you should speak, for it will be given to you in that hour what you should speak. For it is not you who speak, but the Spirit of your Father who speaks in you. Now brother will deliver up brother to death. What in the world? And father his child. And children will rise up against parents and cause them to be put to death. Yahusha, what you talking about? What are you talking about, bro? It's not encouraging. And you will be hated by all for my name's sake, but he who endures to the end will be saved. When they persecute you in this city, flee to another one. For surely I say to you, you will not have gone through the cities of Israel before the Son of Man comes. A disciple is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. It is enough for a disciple to be like his teacher and a servant like his master. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more will they call those of his household? Therefore, do not fear them, for there is nothing covered that will not be revealed, and hidden that will not be known. So this is not a lot of rebuking here, but it's hurtful in the sense of, again, it's just like Ezzy was saying before. It's counting the cost. I don't know if I want to go through this. Is this what I want to sign up for? Yahusha is helping them to count the cost. And this is way later in chapter 10, by the way. This is after the Beatitudes, the blessed are you, and the meek and the lowly and the nice and the humble and forgive 70 times 7. And this is now all of a sudden the bar is being raised on them. Hold up, why didn't you tell us this in the beginning when we were fishing? You should have told me when we were fishing before you told us the value about this. So he's raising the bar. He's telling them they're going to be hated. They're going to be persecuted. He's telling them family members are going to be giving each other up to death over this stuff. So yeah, negative, but righteous because blessed are those when you're persecuted for my name's sake, right? So we're blessed, and it's
truth. It's all truth. Everything he's speaking is truth.
Truth.
So it may not feel good, but it's what's going to happen. So.
And it would be evil of me to not tell you, and then for the stuff to occur, and you'd be like, what happened? I thought I was going to be blessed. I thought I'm the head and not the tail. I thought my cup would be running over. Pressed down, shaken together. What happened, Yahusha? I thought I was supposed to be prosperous as my soul prospers. I'm expecting to make money. What you mean? Locked up in jail and family members turning on me. Count the cost. It's the truth, like Ezzy said.
And there's
that's what makes it.
To it all.
And there's balance. There is balance. I'm simply trying to be, there's a scale, and there's this gentleness, humility, and kindness. A lot of this going on. And the harshness is up here. It's like high up here. So there's a lot of weight on here. So I'm putting a lot of weight on this side because I'm trying to balance out the scale. So I'm preaching in a way, and I'm speaking about this stuff in a way that sounds very extreme on the other side. But it's not because I only believe this 100% and not this. That's not it. It's just that I'm trying to balance out. So if 90% of the weight is on gentleness, kindness, and meekness, I'm trying to get this, 10% to 50. Okay? So I'm putting 40%, 100% into my 40%. I'm talking about the 40%, 100% of the time that I'm speaking, I'm talking about the 40%.
Go ahead with your math.
Like that was pretty good.
I like that. I was flowing. Did the calculation.
All right, moving on.
Such a trip.
Let's see. Almost done here.
You said 10 something.
10, 27 to 31. Okay. 2 more. Yeah, go ahead, read.
What I tell you in darkness, speak you in the light. And what you hear in the ear, preach you upon the housetops. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul. But rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in Gehenna. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a farthing? And one of them shall not fall on the ground without your Father? But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear you not, therefore. You are more valuable than many sparrows.
Okay, yep. Yeah, simply what I see from here is fearing. Again, if you're not talking about fear when you're preaching the gospel too, you're not doing good service to the person you're preaching to. Okay? We got to talk about fear. We got to talk about Yahuwah being able to kill us. That's the severity of preaching the gospel. You need some of those negative words in there. Do you understand?
Not just a reverence.
Yeah, not just a yeah. I remember the little facade that happened for a few years where Christianity started to get away from the word fear and they started to change it for reverence, you know, because they wanted to get away from the word fear. Yeah. It's like, what's up with that? There's a scripture that says, you know, to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. So even if I take out fear and I just put reverence there, it says reverence and trembling. What are you going to do with trembling? What word are you going to change for trembling now? I'm sorry, trembling doesn't sound very comforting. All right, Ezzy, go ahead. What you got?
I think discernment is coming up here as well. Like when he says, what I say to you in the dark, speak in the light, and what you hear in the ear, proclaim on the housetops, and do not fear those who kill the body. Like there's a time to speak up, and there's a time to, you know, perhaps be silent, but whatever he's revealed to you in your own time, like speak that up. So it's, I mean, I still see a rebuke here, but maybe of more future, you know, when times are getting tough or when you're met with certain adversities, you're going to have that discernment of when to speak up what I've already told you to speak versus being fearful of what this person is going to do based on what you're going to say. Because at the end of the day, in the last days, nobody is going to be saved except those who have the mark of the covenant and those that have the faith and are living this thing out. So we shouldn't be fearful to speak what he is telling us to speak, because it's not about them, it's about their soul. So that's what I see.
And exactly. And what is it that they would be preaching and speaking? I would imagine that some of it includes some negative words. Something about the kingdom, something about the coming kingdom and judgment day and hellfire and brimstone and weeping and gnashing of teeth and sick needing a doctor, a physician. And I'm sure some of these things are coming out. Don't be a hypocrite. Don't be brood of vipers, wolves in sheep's clothing. I'm sure some of this has to come out at some point as well while they're on the rooftops. Last one, verses 34 to 39 for today. Go ahead.
Think not that I have come to send peace on earth.
Oh my goodness, Yahusha! What? He's getting worse and worse, guys. Guys, he's getting worse. This is not the same guy we knew when we first met him. It's not the same guy. Did you just say you did not come to bring peace?
I came not to send peace, but a sword.
He's violent. Now he's violent.
For I am come to set a man at variance against his father.
What now? You're the bad guy. You're doing what you said the enemies will be doing to us. They're going to be turning us against what in the world?
And the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foes shall be of those of his own household. Okay,
so when he was saying previously that you're going to be given up, right? You're going to be given up to be persecuted.
21.
Yeah, they would deliver you up to death, a father and his child, right? Parents put to death. All this is really his doing. Even though these enemies are doing it, the ultimate person who gets credit for it is the one commissioning these sheep to obey the truth and preach the truth. That's what I'm seeing here.
He's the cause of the division.
He's pretty much the cause, because I'm bringing something that's going to offend people. I'm asking you to preach something that is going to be a sword and to pierce people's hearts. I'm asking you to do what is not popular. Yeah. Go ahead.
He that loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he that loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he that takes not his staff and follows after me is not worthy of me. He that finds his life shall lose it, and he that loses his life for my sake shall find it. That's what Jeff and Zekiah, I think, brought up last time too.
With that being said, Jeff and Zekiah, your hand was up. Why don't you go ahead? Go ahead.
That's all. It's like the same as from the beginning. Like he divided the light from the dark, and that's what he's doing with us. There is division, but it's because he's dividing light from dark, and that's what we see from the beginning. So that's my own comment.
I like it.
Praise Yah. You want to build on that? Or you want to keep it there real quick?
No, keep
it right there. She's soaking on that real quick, Jeff. Ezzy, go ahead.
It's also interesting that there is a balance in how when he is speaking to the multitudes, and he kind of gets real with those chosen few, because if I'm not mistaken, all of this that he is speaking, he's speaking it to his Talmud, his disciples. He's not saying all this to the multitude. Oh, when you go out, he's not getting real with the multitude. So I think there has to be a balance in how we approach those who, those who are the multitudes. I'll just say that those who are the multitudes, and those who are supposed to be keeping and walking in Torah and helping guide people along. Like he said, I'm sending you out as the sheep in the midst of wolves. So, there has to be a balance, but you have to be able to stand in the midst of struggle, in the midst of persecution, in the midst of the negative. You got to be able to call out the negative. He's not getting this real with the multitudes. He might be, teaching and preaching on the love and trusting in the Father and all of this other stuff, but the realness, the rawness, he's teaching that to those who are going to be held accountable for those sheep that they're guiding back to the Father. So there has to be a balance, but you also have to be able to receive rebuke, because no one is above correction. And if you are now responsible for these other lives or these other households, like it said in 25, if they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more those of his household? You're now responsible for a whole generation of people going astray. So he has to get real. He's got to get negative, so to speak, but it's really a positive negative. It's not really a negative if you know the Father's intention. So.
Fair enough. You could say the same thing with what you just said with Luke, which we're going to get there. Luke or Mark, I forget which one it is. But the guy that's not a disciple, who's casting out demons in Yahushua's name, he's not getting the same messages that the disciples are getting. Even though he's out there casting out devils in Yahushua's name, that still doesn't mean he's getting the same treatment as the disciples. There's still a distinction there. Yahushua simply says, let him continue to do it. Leave him be. That's all. Just leave him be. But if he's going to be benefiting from what the disciples should benefit from, he needs to get plugged in, and he needs to count the cost. He needs to go through the same steps that they went through. There's no special treatment here. You're going to count the cost too if you want to follow me and be my disciple. So there is a distinction between the multitudes and the disciples. So there's not as much of a cost to being just a multitude. There's not that much of a cost, right? You're just listening. You're listening to my messages. But if you're paying attention to his messages, there is an invitation to be a disciple. That's part of his messages. There is an invitation there if people can catch it. They want to get more involved. I think he doesn't make it as clear because he wants people to make a decision for themselves, to get closer, So anyway, that's all I got. That's all we got written down. We got to add more to the list. That's all we got for today. What's up? All right. I'm going to end there. Shabbat shalom.